What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel CDL Cigar and Golf. I'm your guy, Donnell Thomas. This is the Links and Legends podcast. We are live from the historic Westside School, and I have with me today a philanthropist, a young lady with her boots on the ground right here in the city that she was born and raised in, Mingo Mental Health Services right here. I have in the building with me Miss Dinisha Mingo. How are you today, ma'am?
Oh my gosh! Thank you for speaking life into
Come
me.
on, come on now. That's what we do.
That's
what we
the vision
do.
in the heart. So
that's what we have to do.
Say I'm already doing it. Thank you, Father.
Come on now. And I, again, like we was talking off camera, I've been able to witness your journey, witness the things that you have been able to do in this city and beyond. And it's such a joy to watch, man, because we don't generally see us in that mental health space where we probably need to be the most. Right? Yeah. We need to be in that space the most. And I mean, we could talk about, our slavery complex. We could date this back 400 or 500 years with this stuff, right?
So multi-layered.
It's multi-layered, big time. But to see a woman of color in this space, I think we should all jump for joy for this.
Thank you.
No question about it. So thank you for taking your time out and joining the Links and Legends podcast today.
I look up to you and Leslie and the folks, I'm young and I wasn't really out, here I was pretty sheltered. Right. So it wasn't until about my mid-20s and really starting MHS, Mingo Health Solutions, that I kind of got out. And so the work that you've done, the way you've supported our events, come out, volunteered. Leslie is just a beast. So to see other entrepreneurs, like we all have our industries, doing what they do is inspiring. And so to sit here across from you and you value what I do as a Black man, and I know we'll get into that, it means so much.
Absolutely. And it's, being born and raised here, I want to talk to you about that first. Being born and raised here in the city of Las Vegas, tell us what life was like for you growing up here, because everybody has a different story.
Yeah.
We all from, and that's what I don't think people really understand about this city and its dynamics. If you're from a different part of the city, whether it's North Town, West Side, East Side, no matter what, your dynamic was different. Just because it's the city of Las Vegas, your dynamic was still different. Talk to us about your upbringing and how you navigated through life, Earl.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I didn't realize how small Vegas was until I got out. But like you said, it's still so different.
Absolutely.
So I grew up in North Las Vegas, right off of Cheyenne and Civic Center.
Yeah.
I went to Lois Craig Elementary School, so we was up there in the hood.
If you know. If you know.
Exactly. But I was still pretty sheltered. Like I was in my neighborhood, grew up with my family. My mom has 8 siblings. Mm-hmm. And they were also born here too. So
yes.
That's generation, right? Second generation.
You rarely find that. You rarely find it. That's rare. Yeah.
And just a lot of cousins and all of that. So my mom had challenges with addiction, and that was something that kind of trickled through my family. Mental health issues and addiction. Uncles, in and out. My grandmother died before I was born, so didn't know her. My grandfather was around, but older and aging. But it was fun. I didn't feel poor. I didn't feel like you had to be tough. I was, actually, I was a really naturally sweet kid.
That's right.
And it picked on me.
Right.
Probably because me being whatever.
That's right.
And my mom, I remember one time this girl kicked me in the back. And I ran in the house crying. My mom was tough. Yeah, me.
That's right.
She said, you don't come out about maybe 6 or 7. You don't come in this house. We always fighting with my cousins, but I'm not a fight picker.
Right.
And I don't understand why you don't like if I ain't do nothing to you.
That's right.
She made me go outside and fight the girl, and I think I learned then, all right, you can fight. And when you stand up for yourself and you're vocal, people don't really mess with you. So that's kind of like how it was. But overall, generally good childhood. Yeah. When I was in 4th grade, we were living on the east side in Owens, and my mom had my sister. So I was the only child for 8 years.
Yeah.
That was its own real experience.
Yeah.
And then my sister came, but then my aunt had some mental health issues and had been going back and forth with custody of my cousins, meaning them going in and out of child haven. So 5 kids came and moved into a 2-bedroom townhome.
Dynamic, totally shit.
Yeah.
Totally shit.
So it was 7 kids in a room. When I was in 8th grade, my baby brother was born. So about 4 years. During that time, I definitely noticed my mom, it could have been me aging and growing awareness, or it could have been the stress of all these kids. And my mom was working and functioning and all this too prior, but that was difficult when they came. So the life changed a lot, I would say, like around during that time, my cousins being there. And I think that's really part of my heart, because while my mom had her addictions, alcohol and crack, I had her. Didn't have that.
Right.
And I remember being like upset as a kid about, when we would, didn't know what was going on. My cousin would be like, I can't stand this,
Yeah.
And my cousin would be like, well, at least you got your mom. And I was like, I don't want to see my mama like that. That ain't my mama.
Right.
But I am so thankful because none of my cousins are doing well.
Man.
One was 1 month younger than me. But we was like twins growing up. And so we thought she actually went off to college, and then about 23, schizophrenia onset. So, and that's what her mom had. The other ones, because they were so much younger and, about attachment and bonding being pulled away.
Yeah.
Children young, being in the streets, being out of the penal system.
Yeah.
So very, very sad. But nevertheless, I excelled in school, and that became my outlet. And thankfully, I excelled in an American school system.
Right.
I know how to test. I know how to do it. So that was my outlet. And in the midst of it, I always had joy. It wasn't fake. Like, I could go to school, smile.
Yep.
Sometimes I hit that corner, it seems like a dark cloud come out. What is today going to be like?
Yeah.
But my mom also instilled like confidence in me. Like, when I was like, baby, you can do anything. And faith. And my mom would have dreams, and it would come to pass. So despite all this going on, something's working in you.
Now.
And she would tell me to pray for her. And so I was parentified, and the oldest, had a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
But one day, probably about when I was like maybe 13, maybe a little older, 14, my mom got delivered cold turkey, crack, cigarette.
Wow.
And I remember I would come home, and this when I was in high school. But in high school, we finally moved to Henderson, got on Section 8.
Sure. Hey, we all, look, we done all had a little piece of that pie.
It is what it is.
We all had a little piece of it.
But I remember coming home and like wondering, like, is this real, right? And it was. And I knew God did that for me. I knew God was real. I knew God answered my prayers. And that's where I would say my real relationship, when we didn't grow up in church or any of that, with God started, because it was like, this works. This is what I need. Because I did in middle school kind of have suicidal ideation, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to die. I just didn't want to live like that.
Right.
So I just became really focused. So really my drive initially was survival. I had to get out. I didn't even apply to UNLV.
Wow.
It was my saying, UNR. I got to get out. So it was like, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. Keep going. There would be times my mom would crumple up my homework and things like that just while, on that. And I would be like, I'm not going to do my homework, so that she could see how much this is hurting me. This is not fair. But then I'll wake up in the morning and forget that. This is my homework. Because my mom also put that in me. Your grades are for you. You got to do this for you. And that's why it's so important to also understand your parents' stories. Because when my grandmother died, my mom was 18.
Sure.
Her youngest sibling was 3. And she was already helping my grandmother with a lot of responsibilities, because my grandma and my grandfather had, going through their stuff.
Sure.
And so that was a lot of responsibility on her. She was always taking care of other people. And what you're going to do with your sister's kids are going to be taken permanently. I remember her coming home saying, because we all grew up, when we were in North Las Vegas, was all in we all lived in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
So they were like my siblings already. And I remember her coming home and saying, they going to take your kid, the eldest kids. And she said,
wow,
do you want me to get them? And I remember breaking down. This is back in 4th grade, right? Breaking down, crying. Yeah, you got to get my cousins. You got to get them. So, nevertheless, that was like a huge thing. But school was just my drive for survival. If I get out, can make it, I can be what I want. And that, that was it. So I went to A-Tech in high school.
Shout out A-Tech,
from Henderson all
the way to the west side. Shout out A-Tech, man.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, right.
I wasn't really doing nothing else aside from school and going back home. So I was very sheltered. I didn't really realize all this community stuff. I didn't go to Doolittle, Pearson, any of that until I was taking my clients. I was like,
never?
Didn't even know.
Yeah.
And then I started working at McDonald's when I was 15. That's another funny story. It did that for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
You know what's so crazy? I'm so grateful I worked there. A lot of people complain about fast food experience.
Yeah.
That's, you learn so many skills. Even now in my business, I'll be like,
tons of skills. Right. Tons of skills learned. Tossing them fries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Critical thinking. All this stuff. But when I was working there, I remember, and I was paying for like a lot of my own stuff. I did the maid, by the time when I got a job, you paying for this, Yeah. So I was literally working because I didn't really have enough. I wasn't making it back home till about 4 or 5 o'clock. And then I got all this homework. So I was really working mostly on weekends.
Sure.
But I was just working to pay for the things that I wanted to do, right? Yeah. But I remember one of the things I learned the most working at McDonald's was the power of my energy, my spirit, and my smile. Because so many people will come through that drive-through and be like, you have no idea just how
what you did for me today
made my day.
Oh, yeah.
And all I was doing was being me. And I think I began to realize then too, I was young. I'm like, dang, Yeah. Or some people will be all constantly rude. And I was consistently kind. Yep. Angelique Daniels, the art lady?
Sounds familiar.
So she I hate that her, I'll think of the name of her boutique. It slipped in my mind. So she was a GM at Olive Garden. One day she was very straight faced. If you meet her, big smile, big personality. But I didn't see that when she was coming to the drive-thru. She'd come and get her coffee.
Yeah.
Then one day she said, "Do you like working here?" And I was like, "I don't mind. It was just a job. I knew we would."
Right.
And she's like, "Every time I come through here, you are so kind and you're consistent."
Wow.
That I'm a GM at Olive Garden. If you want to leave, give me a call, and gave me her car.
Wow.
But I didn't have a car. So I could walk to McDonald's from where we live. We were off of Eastern and Serene, kind of that area, whatever that McDonald's is, on Windmill. Yeah. And one morning, it was kind of getting to like how I realized like treating people well or business gone.
Way.
Because the owner there was this older white guy, and I would notice how he would take all these digs at this. We got Spanish speaking folk working in there, working in the grill. Yeah. And when he would come, he would just be very rude, and I don't know if they were ignoring him or perhaps weren't picking up on it. And I just absolutely hated it. Yeah. And because you don't treat people like that.
Of course.
And I remember one morning, it was Sunday, and we would be busy on the weekend.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Whipped around the drive-through lobby, and I was good.
Yeah.
Like they would have a float doing everything.
That's right.
You should do this, this, and this. And so it was really busy, and I was working drive-through where you give out the food. Yeah. And so we were moving so fast. Yeah. The manager gave me the bagged food for the customer, and I made their drinks. And so I just handed it to them, but she had made the bag wrong. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, "Oh, Dinisha, you didn't check the bag. And this order was, why didn't you double check it?" And I'm like, "Your manager made the bag. Why should I have to double check? And we're busy." Nevertheless, okay, fine, but he kept going on and on about it. And I was like, I remember his name, Mark, I don't care. You don't care. No. Oh, that's not the attitude to have. And he was like, "Well, we'll see how you care cleaning the lobby." So now you have probably your strongest worker, because they wanted to promote me to manager and all that, but I was focused on school. This is just a little side job.
Right.
No, I don't want to be your manager.
Absolutely. Don't want to manage.
Just my head. If he thinks, because it's not about cleaning the lobby. I clean the lobby. It's about you trying to demean it.
Yeah. Yeah. You thinking it was going to break me.
Yeah. You think that you're going to go have a woman who don't even speak English, who's cleaning the lobby, come and work drive-thru to punish me. And I just stood there and waited. And my cousin Tamika, I told you one month, she worked there too.
Yep.
And he waited, I guess, till slow down for a second till there was a break. He said, "Yesenia, come and give Dinisha the towel so she can go clean the lobby." I looked right at him and her. I dropped the towel and I said, "I'm out."
Yeah, I'm done.
And I walked out. I remember my cousin said, "Dinisha, where you going?"
Yeah.
And the manager, Patty, was like, "Dinisha, please don't Customers are looking at me like, we need our food. What are you doing? I'm going to the lobby with it. And I walked home and my mom was like, what are you doing? Because it was like 7 or something. And I was like, I quit. And she didn't believe me. But I had that job from Angelique lined up.
What? Here you go. No. That's. I mean, I think that's a testament because some folks deal with stuff because they have to deal with stuff. You didn't have to deal with that. You chose to up to a certain point. He was like, you know what? Got something else lined up anyway. I'm sitting here doing all y'all dirty work. I'm doing everything for y'all. And this is how y'all treat me? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I've always had that mindset when I've had jobs, right? I mean, I've always been a great worker, so I've never had a performance issue. Integrity, do what you're supposed to.
Absolutely.
When nobody's watching. I remember in the Olive Garden, people were like, oh, the big boss coming in. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I'm finna do nothing I don't normally do. I like my job. I ain't tripping.
Yeah. So, you shouldn't treat me a certain kind of way. I'm respectful to people. And I know, like, I didn't know what it would be. It was like always like, okay, I'm gonna be an attorney or private something. But everything was just like, this is what I'm doing. Like, this is not my priority. I don't need to be here. And I think that's probably why when people are in jobs that they hate, they feel stuck. I've never felt stuck, but it's a mindset.
Yes, it is.
It's a mindset.
Absolutely, man. Look, man. CDL Cigar and Golf, man. Links and Legends podcast, man. I'm here with the great Dinisha Mingo right here, man. Look, so 2-part question for you. So what drew you to getting into mental health? And I know you went into it just a touch. And how and why did you start Mingo Health Solutions?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely think my pathway has been carved out. And I didn't know, like I said, I was headed to law school. So I majored in psych in undergrad, but I did law school.
Psych major, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, psych major, baby. Come on now.
The ATEC, law-related education, went to nationals, all this stuff. So Eric, you're going to, and I think it was my heart for advocacy now when I think about it. But nevertheless, I moved back here out to college. I was kind of torn.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm going to be an attorney. I was working at a law firm.
Yeah.
And some of the things that started chipping away from that was they were really miserable people.
Yeah.
My attorney coaches in high school for my trial, they weren't. But I'm working in this law firm and he's, again, rude, coming in, yelling at the staff, calling people stupid. They, not me.
Right.
But just watching it. And I said, well, I know I'm not going to be miserable, but I don't know if I want to be around miserable people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nevertheless, I actually ended up getting fired from that job after like a year. That's a whole other story. There was some discrimination.
Yeah, you go.
It's all good.
You go.
But while working there, I went to apply to UNLV's law school, Boyd Law School, and they had a dual degree where you can get your PhD in educational psychology and your law degree. And I was like, well, at that time, I was like, well, forget it. I'm going to go back to school. So I'll get it all. I'll be a doctor. I didn't care about educational psychology at all. But I had to do a master's in order to apply to that dual degree program.
Gotcha.
So I was like, let me knock out this master's.
That's right. Sure.
Yep. It ended up taking longer than expected. But in one of my first classes there, someone heard that I needed a job. I was like, oh, blah, blah, this is flexible. And I started working in a day treatment center. And I fell in love.
Yeah.
Fell in love working with the kids, the families, started getting individual clients. And I saw the change.
Yes. Yeah.
And I really love working with adults because a lot of people want to work with youth. But I have seen, and then it's hard. But when you give them, because many of us didn't have it as kids.
Oh, no.
Especially if they're troubled, like those that we work with, or that I have worked with. And when you give them that same non-judgment, that same compassion, that same care that you would a child, I saw, and it take them a while. Is this real? You get pushed back. But I saw them change. And when I was working with families, when they change, the trajectory of that family change, that work, I didn't have to do as much work because now you're doing it for these kids.
Absolutely.
I'm putting myself out of a job every day. So I just fell in love with that work. And I remember being like, I didn't want to have a business in it because I heard everybody named Mama. No, I can't stand. Like, oh, my uncle, my pastor, I wanted them. I do this as a craft.
Absolutely.
I'm skilled,
passionate,
knowledgeable.
You're passionate about it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I tried to leave, went on a job interview and didn't get it. First job interview I never got. So I was like, what am I going to do? Because I was kind of just burned out from working with companies. Again, I wanted to raise the standard of excellence.
Sure.
when I didn't get that job, I was like, okay, God, this is what we're doing. And also during that time, I fell in love with leadership because since I had so much responsibility growing up, I used to be like, that's why people like, no, I don't want it.
Not interested.
But as a director and training other people, I fell in love with helping them because I realized there's only one Dinisha.
That's right.
So if I could pour into them and make them better providers, then that's so many more people that could be helped.
Right.
So it only just made sense, like what was going to be the next step in my career. So MHS birth, and I said, we're going to do it differently.
That's right.
And raise the standard of excellence.
Yeah, that's it, man. Look, CDL Cigar and Golf, man. Links and Legends right here, man. I'm with the great Dinisha Mingo right here. Look, solutions to change.
Yeah.
New nonprofit baby of yours. What gave you the idea to start this nonprofit? Because you've done some great things thus far with solutions to change. Talk about it a little bit.
It birthed out of MHS. Really having to do with insurances, giving us denials for things that I knew worked.
Yep.
You telling me this ain't gonna work with our Black kid, these Black boys. And my ignorance, I didn't know anything about nonprofit, but I knew that it was nonprofit.
Sure.
Restricted. So
Sure.
It was like 2017, 2016. I was like, well, I'm just going to start a nonprofit and fund it myself.
Right. Like we all think we could do.
Right. And I just didn't know. But that's when I first got the business license in 2017.
Yeah.
And it kind of sat on it. And some of the community work that MHS and myself was already doing, I just began to tack on that logo.
Yeah.
And then 2020, we ended up getting a grant. Shout out to Janice Wiggins and grant.
Come on now.
And I had to learn now, right, what this really looks like, what it is. And then that's just how it birthed. And so the idea for SOC, we serve those who are uninsured, underinsured. And it does include undocumented people, anybody who cannot access, right? If you can't afford your copay, come here.
Yeah.
But breaking barriers and allowing access where there otherwise would not be.
Yep.
And again, something that was passionately dreamed about or created. God was like showing me along the way that I didn't even know what I was creating. This thing for MHS, I didn't know. I was just doing what I love.
Right.
So.
Right. And it's crazy that you mentioned that, with the whole, underinsured or not insured at all thing. I was just having a conversation with somebody about insurance in particular and how I think currently it sits at about 16 million people total in the United States that are uninsured. Now, we look at over 350 million people here in the United States, and we're like, okay, that's not a lot. Well, it's too much. It's too much for 16 million people to not be insured. That's half of the city of Los Angeles. That's half of LA County. Uninsured.
I didn't even know that number.
Come on now. Like, that's insane. So what you're doing with your nonprofit, I think, is number one, it's needed. Number two, I think it's heaven sent. I really do believe that, man, because we're looking at Las Vegas as a transient city. We both born and raised here. We know how transient it is, right? So we got people in and out of here constantly, people that want to move from other regions to come here and nest. And for you to have a program like that and for people to get, I guess, a fresh start, really, that's heaven sent in my opinion. No question.
Thank you. And we do the therapy, which is free.
Yes.
And we continue to expand the services. A lot of young working people don't have insurance, right? So at first it was youth and families, and we went back to the state. We're like, listen, we got these young folk here who they want this. They don't have children. Like, we need to care about people.
Right.
But we do provide family support services for free. You don't got to do therapy to access it.
Yep.
The community support and the education. Like you said, ain't enough providers, ain't enough Black folk or Latino people or people who care. Right?
Yeah.
I like to think my team, right, embody my spirit.
That's right.
Sure. But
it's infectious, man. They got to embody it. Come on, man. Yeah.
We want to make sure that you can come here and get your needs filled because there's so many things, right, to wellness. We got a clothing closet now. We partner. So anybody who wants to donate to Solutions to Change, we're always accepting donations for our programming. And we do, I'll share more when the time permits, but we do a lot of different programming. And I'm proud. Like, SOC was the dream that I wanted MHS. because I was running MHS like a nonprofit.
Right. Well,
This ain't sustainable for business.
right.
I had to learn to do that.
Yeah.
And so it is beautiful, but both are wonderful, but they have their different cultures based on different parts of my personality.
That's right. That's right, man. That's gigantic, man.
Thanks.
I can't stress to you enough just how, number one, how admirable it is, because people tend to shy away from the mental health space for whatever reason. And for you to be so passionate about it, that tends to rub off on folks. And you have folks that'll be more apt to talk about their situations and want to actually trust someone with the information that they'll divulge into somebody, because we got a lot of folks suffering in silence, man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of folks suffering in silence, man, that would rather keep it to themselves until they explode one day, rather than to tell somebody, because everybody's so damn judgmental, right? Nobody wants to really help you for real. They want to pretend as though they're helping you.
Yep.
And then as soon as you leave the room, you're nothing. So what you're doing is gigantic.
You know what it was for me? Like, mental health is one avenue for, like you heard me mention, I cared about change.
Yeah.
I can look back over my life and see all the things that probably pushed me there, but it wasn't in my mind when I started. I didn't understand what low self-esteem was, because my mama instilled that in me so young. So it didn't matter what was going on in the world. I had a mindset. I knew I could do. I was like, I could be the president if I wanted.
Come on,
to do what I got to do.
Absolutely.
Do it.
Absolutely.
So when I would encounter people who were down and discouraged, I really didn't understand that mindset. So my initial thing was like, how do I help people believe in themselves, believe that there's something more, and not be overcome by their circumstances? Because I didn't used to tell my story for a long time. It wasn't out of shame. It was just that where I come from, everybody got a sob story.
Absolutely. Funny.
Right? How do we move forward? And so mental health was one avenue. If I can help you with some tools, and you have depression or anxiety, I just want people to know you can do it.
No.
That's that. And then over, years, you learn more, you live more, you begin to understand, oh, I know what it's like to feel down.
That's right.
I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to not want to tell nobody, to be afraid of being judged. And I began to even more deeply empathize with people because I had those experiences. But I'm so thankful, right? It's just a calling. Yeah. And I love people. I mean, I get tired of them sometimes.
We all do. We all do, for sure. No question about that.
But that's just like where my heart is about it.
That's right. That's right, man. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, currently we're in Men's Mental Health Month. By the time this airs, we won't, but currently we are.
Okay.
What are you and your companies doing, your team doing to get the word out about Men's Mental Health Month? Because it's very, very important, man, when we talk about that, for sure.
Well, if you're listening to this after the fact, right, we will have an event next Wednesday. What's that date? The 26th?
Yeah.
At Mariposa. So thank God for Devin. Thank God for we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a panel there. And then there's a men's conference that weekend that Dr. Natasha Mosby and Dr. Sheldon, they're doing.
Yes.
So our panel is kicking off. But again, going to breaking barriers. If you want to lounge, you want to have a drink, you want to do we're going to come to you and have a conversation. We need men to be talking about it. And I remember somebody asking me early on, like when people started emulating, I guess, or talking about mental health, does it bother you because you were doing it first? I was like, no, that's the purpose.
It's the goal.
That's the goal.
I want everybody to do it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm so thankful because it's taken a while for men to get on it, but I just got to give a shout out to my brothers, and I love all people, but I'm Black first.
Come on now.
And I love my Black folks. I love my Black men. Yes. And I have a heart, probably because I saw my uncle struggle as well, but y'all have been so much better at being vulnerable and opening up and talking about it. And you need community. And so when you talk about people not wanting to talk about it, I've never had an issue with people talking about it. And I realize it's because I talk about
That's
it.
Right.
So then you're giving them permission.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm not alone.
Making it safe for you.
Making it safe.
Yeah.
I'm being bus stops to high-end.
Don't even matter.
And they're talking about it because I mentioned it.
Yep.
So thank y'all for having the dialogue. But that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We just need to talk about it. And I'll tell you this, I'm a firm believer in individual therapy, but community is where healing really happens and where it's sustained.
Yes.
You need a support system.
Yeah.
Your therapist may not be there forever, should not be there forever. Well, I'm going to say should, because you can always do your check-ins and stuff.
Yeah.
But you got to build your tools. And that is a part of community, getting back to indigenous roots, collectivist cultures. That's where people flourish and thrive.
Yeah.
In community.
That's right.
We need each other.
100%.
It's a preaching.
No, it's a thing that needs to be talked about. I think we don't talk about it enough. And, I think finding that safe place to land is probably the most important thing on why people don't talk about it, because they don't figure it's a safe place to land. But with what you've been able to do with MHS, you're giving people a safe place to land. And that's more important than anything, for sure.
I just want to encourage anybody to understand that therapy is like dating.
Yes.
We're human too. You got to find the right fit. So you starting it rather. You might not find the right fit of a therapist. And so if you have a poor experience, I apologize on behalf of the field, because it breaks my heart when I hear it. But don't stop. I do think it's so important to have that space, because
absolutely.
You should have community and family and different resources, but it's nothing like having that confidential space where nobody's you ain't gonna ever worry about them bringing it up to you, throwing it in your face or sharing it, and you can really be free. But even in them, people don't open up initially. It takes time to even build that relationship and that trust.
Sure.
And a good therapist should be really listening. A lot of times we don't be quiet and listen. Probably why I talk so much here, because I be
that's right. Nothing wrong with it.
But that type of space really is what cultivates the change.
No doubt.
So thank you.
Absolutely. And so, what would you tell a young child wanting to get into the mental health field, and what steps to take? Because I think, just like we spoke earlier, it's not a whole lot of us really into the field. So when I see a woman, a man of color getting in this field, I get excited about it, because again, it's something that we just don't discuss as people as a whole. So what would you tell a youngster trying to get into this field?
This is the one industry that is likely going to require school, right? I won't say the one, but one of the few that you do have to have higher education.
Yes.
So go to school, but there's so much that you can do in mental health beyond just being a clinician, right? Don't be discouraged if you don't want to be a therapist. There's so many job opportunities. There are job opportunities even as a paraprofessional. That's kind of how I started, right? We do trainings to help you get into it. So reach out, right, to us. Be prepared to go to higher education. Know that there are opportunities to work along the way. I do believe a lot of therapists sometimes just go to school and don't get the practical experience.
Yep.
If you are working I'm a big boots on the ground kind of person, as you know, and I believe that's a pathway. So working with people in social services or in different settings really helps strengthen your patients, your knowledge, your experiences. And I think it makes you a much stronger clinician if that's your pathway. And then know that there are different types of degrees that you can pursue and still be a clinician. Just the orientation or approach is going to be different. Do you think that that's helpful? And working it young, you can do things like MHS. You could work with we have an ABA program for children with autism. We got a clinic we're working on. You could do that with a high school diploma. It pays well.
Yes.
So while that's working with children on the spectrum, you're learning intervention skills.
Yeah.
And while therapy is processing, because people have so much need, I am the type of clinician that processes, but you're never going to leave a session with me without another tool.
That's right.
Because what happens if you don't come back? And so I've talked to people for 10, 15 minutes before, and they say, you've given me more than my therapist. And I understand they may not know their therapist's approach. Right. But I'm like, here, because I want you, if you're struggling with sleep, I want you to go home tonight and at least have a routine or something that you can begin practicing if that depression is keeping you up or that anxiety is keeping you up. So that's just kind of my approach. So I really encourage people to get into social services or paraprofessional jobs to understand, do you really want to deal with people? Because it's heavy.
Absolutely. And
you always got to be a lifelong learner. You want to pursue more knowledge and certifications and just better yourself. You know, the research is, going and going, but reach out to us, mhsbs.com.
That's it, man. That's it. I've always been of the mindset that the day I stop learning is the day I might need to check up out of here. If I can't continue to learn about things, learn about people, learn about situations, it's time for me to go. Yeah. So
you know this. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So if you think you've arrived, you're absolutely at the wrong place.
Man.
And even for those youth or people want to inspire, like understand your pathway gonna open up. So if you take these different opportunities, all it's gonna do is let you know, oh, this is for me.
Yeah.
This is not. Don't move you along. But if you're okay, we were talking about the men, and
yeah,
I was in the Bahamas a couple of weeks ago doing some research for my dissertation. I'm in a doctoral program.
Yes.
And
congrats in advance.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And there is this community program that psychologists there has been doing for many years. And I've used some of my research off of it. So I want to go see it. Called The Family.
Yeah.
People Helping People.
Yeah.
The Bahamas was the first country to be hit by the crack epidemic.
Oh, wow.
All that. So I'm using the research here to like parallel. What is he doing here that I can bring here?
Wow.
That's like the few years.
To think that's the first place where I had conch fritters. And not to know that was the first. Wow. Unbelievable.
So what I'm learning about, I'm like, there's so much parallel to our Black. So what can we do? And he has a resocialization program, violence, gang violence, all these people suffering grief and loss. People who were gang leaders are now leading groups. The people, they never make it into individual therapy. They're very much behind us in it.
Sure.
But that community healing space. And I got to talk to, and there were men, there were still more women than men.
Sure.
But a good number of men. And I was asking them, like, I need this. It's good to me. And then what's happening is that once they've gotten their healing, and not that anybody's completely healed, right? We're involved in life is happening.
We're evolving,
But they become committed to this group. So now they're coming back because they're holding space.
Sure.
And for people who have experienced grief and loss and or abuse or neglect, right? The research shows that you're going to go to the sadness pole or the anger pole.
Yeah.
And a lot of times our men, but people a lot too.
Yeah.
We don't want to be in that sadness pole.
Yeah.
But when you're sadness pole, that's when you're the most close to your humanity, right? Your pain.
That's right.
And the research shows that the longer you stay there, that's where hope and healing can occur. What happens is we tend to go to the anger pole.
Yeah.
And that's where resentment, bitterness, all these other feelings get built up, silence, shame. You allowing a foothold for the enemy, but we and ultimately, without giving all the whole model, that leads to a loss of value of life.
Yeah.
And then what? Suicide.
Yep.
Or homicide.
Yep.
There's a grief to prison pipeline. People in prison have lots of. So, men, people, I know it's hard. I know we are afraid to come. It's so much that we deal with. It feels overwhelming. Yeah. It's not going to kill you to be in that pain. Yeah. It's actually likely going to if it don't. And when we get into what the body, the brain experiences when you put that in.
Absolutely. Unbelievable stuff, man. Unbelievable stuff. Look, CDL Cigar and Golf, man. Links and Legends podcast right here. I'm here with Dinisha Mingo. Look, if you're not getting the gems here, I'm not sure what to tell y'all, man. Look, so to the business side of things, with every business comes highs, comes lows.
Yeah.
And how have you been able to personally maintain or deal with those and still maintain through those highs and lows?
Yeah. It's been a very humbling process. I think that was one of them, right? I made poor choices because I was afraid to say I don't have it, or I didn't want to be the person who wasn't paying somebody. Yeah. And I remember the very first time I got to that place with, just challenges and stuff where it wasn't there. If I would have just waited a week, I would have been okay. But instead, I didn't want, and mind you, I think it was like maybe 3 years in, I never had that experience. So my team trusted me, but my pride, and I didn't want to be that kind of person and caring about them, took out a bad loan And I don't even tell you how long it took me and how much more debt I went into.
Yeah.
So I would say being humble.
Yep.
I had to grow in money management skills because I didn't even know that I didn't have it. Right? I wasn't ever a person who overdrafted their bank account or didn't pay my bills, but I didn't know how to manage money like that. I had to learn to manage my time and depend on other people and trust other people. You come and tell about this girl who did so much on her own.
Yep.
Now I had to learn to trust other people. And so business has grown me so much as a person. And then like relinquishing control. Like there are things we can do, but then there's other things that's just like you can't. And that has been another, when you have experienced the type of trauma or childhood experiences I have, you become very controlling. This got to be like this. Yeah. I want this like that. And then it will stress you out and kill you, right?
Absolutely.
If it's not happening that way, but learning, right? Put your intentions out there. Yeah. Don't be tied to the outcome. I would say those are some of the biggest principles. But because I'm in something I love, it's easy to endure. I sometimes like, forget this. I need to sit down. Yeah. Pay for my money, right?
That's right.
Can't imagine.
We all get caught up in that. We all get caught up in that.
What you gonna do, girl?
Yeah, what you gonna do? Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur. I'm gonna add other things, but like that's my passion.
That's right.
So I would say those are some of the biggest things that I've learned. We celebrated 9 years this past year.
Unbelievable.
It'll be 10 years.
Unbelievable.
Like, we made it.
Unreal. Unbelievable.
And I think seeking support and mentorship, like, I don't realize what I've done until other people say it.
Yeah.
Like the number of small businesses who have more than, who even have employees in Nevada, right? I think it's less than 1,000 or something like that. And we've had almost 40 at one point in MHS. I think right now we're about like 30, 29. Really? SOC, we're about 15. And like Shondell, shout out to him, Newsom always tells me.
Shondell Newsom, man.
You don't realize, because I'm just doing it.
Right? Just doing it, yeah.
And so sometimes it's helpful to hear that because those things keep you going. And I love my team.
Yeah.
So there have been times where I've been like, can't do it.
Yeah.
No, we love this place, boss. We got you. And they're speaking back to me. What I've spoken to,
life back into you. That's beautiful.
So it's been beautiful, but I left Las Vegas. I don't live here right now.
Right.
And that journey, living in California for the past 3 years, taught me, like God's like, again, you got too tied to this.
Yeah.
And it made me an even better business owner, learn to put systems in place.
Yes.
Trust
your people.
My business grew.
Yeah.
While I left.
And you left.
I remember crying.
Wild concept, man. It's super wild.
But the grief, right? Yeah. And the, all that of just, that was a loss of a life that I knew and going into a new thing. But it freed me up. And I was working like a dog. So now you spending 40 hours a week on something other than either of your businesses. And it made me realize that when I'm done with school, all I got to give is half of this back. And I don't have papers and other things on my mind. I'm efficient. So like, that's my plan. Like when I'm done, they gonna get between the both of them 20, but focus, right? Hours and imagining like how much more efficient I can be and how much more I can enjoy my life. I've worked hard for so long and I am appreciating wellness and freedom and ease and learning that like, it wasn't about getting rich. It was about creating financial freedom.
That's right.
Well, you have that. You don't got to be slaving and also realizing like, that's going to kill me too.
Right.
I don't want to die being stressed out, trying to help everybody else.
Not even close.
So that's kind of where I am now. And I'm so grateful.
That's it. That's a beautiful thing, man. Wow, man.
I know. I just be
mental health, man. And look, it's so many layers to it, man. That we could talk for hours and hours, on this subject, man. But because there's so many layers. But just again, seeing what you've been able to do, and I look at 10 years as a short time, right? That's still a short time. Looking at what you've been able to do in such a short time, and the impact. Because to me, impact is probably more important than anything. You can start something, all fine and good, but who did you affect? What did you affect? What change did you affect? If you didn't affect nobody in a positive way, if you didn't change anything in a positive way, you just started something.
Yeah,
that's all you did.
Yeah,
you really didn't do much if you didn't affect the change. So that's gigantic to me, man.
Thank you.
So with that, how do you view yourself in terms of being a community leader and being an example for young children? Because that's probably it's probably one of the biggest things, especially the example for children.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the biggest things that we don't necessarily throw in that importance box, so to speak. So how do you look at that?
I mean, I think that, it's the seeing how important it is to me.
Yeah.
I don't really, I know I am because people say it. And I promise you, I'm not trying to do but
it is what
I don't view myself as a community leader, but I know that I'm a leader, right?
Oh, absolutely. No question about that. And yes, you are a community leader. We're not getting ready to do this. Not getting ready to argue about this.
This is what people say it.
That's right.
So I view myself as still a person.
Yes.
I want to be seen as a person, but I understand there's a responsibility. Too much is given, much is required.
That's right.
Playing about how full play when you ask the weeks. I mean,
that crown heavy now.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
And but I know I can. I know I'm calling you fall in love with it. I fall in love with the impact.
That's right.
And it's like if I it's an honor to be you.
No. Come on now.
It's an honor to be you.
I don't think people really understand that.
Like
people don't get it.
You choose me. Yeah. You know my troubles, my struggles, my flaws, where I've messed up.
Yep.
And somehow you chosen to give me these giftings and for people to draw.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is to learn to love as good as God.
Man.
How to be your hands and feet when people are hurting me.
Unbelievable.
Seeing not meaning not setting boundaries and recognizing that this is not okay, but like you still God's child too. And that's an ever growing process. So with children, it's so important because I didn't have examples. So I was always doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And when I started going back and speaking in school, and I'm just tell like a very smidget, right, of my story. Like this is a lot that I told today. The kids would come up to me, and I didn't really think that that's not related to because I was so mature for my age.
Sure.
I didn't like kids like that.
Right.
So the kids always see me as authority figure, so I didn't think I could really relate to them too well. Mm-hmm. But the way they would draw and come up, I was like, oh. And I think it was the sharing the story. It was them seeing, right? Having representation.
Yeah.
And I realized the importance of sharing my story, of being available, of instilling confidence or sharing resources, giving knowledge, right? I'm still learning how to ask for things, not because I'm afraid to ask, but they don't always occur to me. Absolutely. I have to figure out so much on my own. So giving everything I have, I think that's why now I do talk so much. Like I'm young, but I've had such a rich life and experience. Okay. And it's like, I got to get it out.
Gotta get it out. Have to.
So we have a responsibility because they're the few. I pray my greatest impact is not one I live to see.
Yep. Legacy. What you leave.
It should leave. World.
Come on.
And so doing that for our youth, they're hurting. We're hurting.
Yep.
And it's going to take some generations for a racial, ethnic healing, especially here in America.
100%.
And so I think that's where this passion is from the top down and being there. But that's how I see it. I used to say that I ain't responsible for nobody. Like,
right.
Oh, I absolutely am.
Oh, you are.
Ubuntu.
Yes.
I am because we are. So,
come on. I absolutely love it.
I'm like, maybe this ain't the place, but I just want to let you know these are some opportunities here for you, right? Yeah. And people don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
That's right. Absolutely. 100%, man. So switching gears just a little bit with your Solutions to Change nonprofit, you recently got a $250,000 grant from the Las Vegas Raiders, man. When I saw that, like the excitement that ran through my body seeing that, because first of all, you have somebody from here that, like we said before, you've constantly had your boots on the ground. You've constantly been doing work in the community and having positive impact. To see that just sent chills up my spine, to be 100% honest with you. And I know you're going to do great things going forward and this ain't even about the money necessarily. It's really, to me, about the recognition from such a high pedestal, right? How did that make you feel as a CEO, and what initiatives do you plan on starting, and what other projects do you have in the works?
Oh man, first of all, thank you.
Yes,
it has been so. I'm still basking in it. I haven't actually spoken about it publicly because I'm like, where do I start?
Links and Legends get the exclusive. Come on now. Talk to me.
It's a reminder that if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together.
Come on.
I've been in California the last 3 years.
Yes.
But they've been doing it. But I'll tell you this story.
Unbelievable.
Everything that's happening with the administration. We not lost, but 2 of our grants ended in December.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we do well with the finances, right? So, but like, we got reserve, but if nothing comes through, will it have been wasted money, right? You're battling between this heart and then being good with your finances, right? And then also business, right? And not wanting to rehire. I got a wonderful team. So that started back in December. I knew last June. And we're trying for different grants, blah, blah, blah. But we've done well with our money, thank God.
Yeah.
All this stuff happened with the administration. I'm like, all right, got to be aware. But that ain't what you got for me. Faith, right? Nothing in my life goes without that firm foundation.
Come on.
So I'm in school, trying to be a student.
Yeah.
Even though I got this life. And, we decided we need to go to Carson City in March.
Yes.
So go up there with my board chair, Charles Whitby, shout out.
To all the good folks up in the state capitol, man, doing big work up there. Big work. Yeah.
And this is why, because it's like so many people that I want to tell our stories of. Is Solution to Change Star? He was the first person to tell me to do donations during the pandemic, Fancy Friday. He's like, you got a nonprofit, Dinisha? What is it? I was like, I didn't even think about it. I just want to help people feel good, right? So I thank God for that. But we went to Carson City. We just picked the day that worked for both of us, and we flew up there. The Aces were being honored that day.
Yes. Shout out to the Las Vegas.
Shout out to the Aces. Thank them. Yeah. And so their foundation was there, the director. Yeah. And Charles, and they called on me to be an honorary captain a couple of years ago. And that was enough.
Super dope.
Like,
super dope.
You see your name and this.
Shout out Nikki for this as well.
Yes.
Absolutely, man. Big.
He was like, you need to go talk to the foundation, the executive director after this. And, I'd be talking to folks. Yeah. So he's like, I need you to go.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get to her. And I'm standing there waiting because somebody else is talking to her. But I sat with Cecilia Gonzalez on the floor. They had read about me and SOC.
It's Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you, Cecilia, Assemblywoman. Yes. So this guy comes up to me and he's like, hey, thank you for your work. Denisha said my name kind of wrong, but like, I'm thinking he's a legislator. And so I'm just like, thank you. And I'm trying to stay focused. Right. Get to this woman. Her. And short talk to her, blah, blah. Later on, Charles say, so what did Mark say to you?
Mm-hmm. You didn't know it was
No. I said, Mark who?
Unbelievable.
He said, Mark Davis. He owns the Aces.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
I had no idea.
He is.
I had no idea.
He owns the Raiders too. I was like, because we had tried to apply for a couple of their grants, but didn't get it. But we never have reached out to them.
Yes.
And so I was just like, oh my God, is that a missed opportunity? Because I didn't know.
Right.
And then I said, or maybe it's God saying, swear to God, I had this conversation with Charles. Yeah. You over here beelining to somebody else, and I'm sending the honor to you. You don't have to chase. I'm sending to you. I swear to God. Because when you ask why I don't see myself as a community, I just be doing what I know
what you naturally do.
Believe is
yeah.
So, but I know I got this nonprofit that needs to grow and get unrestricted dollars. So we've been more effortful in trying to fundraise, but we're not fundraising gurus, right?
Right.
I looked at it as God honoring it. So a couple weeks later, maybe like end of April, I get a text from Piper. Shout out to Piper.
Shout out to Piper.
Piper Overstreet.
Man.
I reached out to her once on Instagram to invite her to our Connecting for a Cause, a fundraising event. And I was hard to think just because, and I have never reached out to her, anyways, you have these thoughts in your mind. And she didn't respond to the message. And she didn't see it. So I get this text, hey, Donisha, can you give me a call? Text both of my phones. Didn't go see that I had texted her in 2017.
Yep.
but I didn't have her number saved. I think, again, God was saying, it wasn't for her to respond to your reach out on Instagram, but I'm doing something. I don't know when it got started or what.
Yeah.
She sent that text that was enough for me.
Yeah.
I was like, they recognizing us as an invite-only event, 1,000 people, Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
Y'all are recognizing the work that we're doing. And they didn't tell us that they were giving that. I imagine they might have donated something. I didn't know that night. I didn't have an idea of how much. I was just thinking, being in that room, that recognition, I'm grateful, and that exposure is going to be good for SLC's future.
Yes.
And they surprised
Unbelievable.
with that. And it was so overwhelming, so feeling.
Yep.
And I think partially why I haven't even spoken about it yet is because it was the first time that I felt, not the first time, but one of the few times that I felt super proud.
Yes.
I felt like it was deserved. It was from God, but it was like, God, well done, baby.
Yes.
And that meant so much for me because I just be going.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I felt proud. So I'm thankful. Shout out to the Raiders Impact, Mark Davis, Piper Overstreet, Chandra Douglas, and all the people who's been putting my names in those rooms.
Yeah.
Because people be like, you got to be over here. I'm like, I just want to be over here.
I found that you don't necessarily have to be in a room for your name to ring in it.
Yeah.
I found that out. I found that if whatever the work that you're doing, if it's positively impacting, your name's going to come up.
Yeah.
It's going to come up, man. And shout out to Piper Overstreet White, Senior VP of Government and Community Relations with the Raiders, and of course, Sandra Douglas, President.
Black woman, president
of the Las Vegas Raiders. Unbelievable stuff what our Black women are doing, especially Sandra Douglas being from here, have been able to do in this space predominantly dominated by men.
Yeah.
Look, it makes my heart sing to be able to see our Black women making the impact in the community that they are making. It is unbelievable stuff. And to have you here, right here on the Links and Legends podcast, look, always tell people, first of all, people ask me, how did I come up with the name Links and Legends, right? So my thing is, of course, you know, I have a golf YouTube channel. It's what I do. I play golf. I smoke cigars. That's my thing. But my focus with this platform in particular, with Links and Legends, was to link the community or people that don't necessarily know.
I thought it just, the light bulb went off.
Right? It's a whole double entendre that people really don't even think about, right? It is to link the community with the people that I feel are legendary people. Because when people think legendary, they think you got to be rich, you got to be famous, you got to have this, you got to have that. No, I want the legendary people that no one sees. No one sees these legendary people that I see on an everyday basis. People that I get to be a part of what they have going on an everyday basis. The normal crowd don't see these people.
Yep.
I can bring them right to your living room. CDL Cigar and Golf, man. Links and Legends podcast right here. I am with the great Dinisha Mingo right here doing humongous things right here in the city of Las Vegas. Let the people know where they can find you. Throw all of your socials out. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, as I was kind of answering up the second part of that.
Yeah.
The Raiders, thank y'all.
Yes.
And I know it's the first of more, right?
Oh, gigantic.
And it meant so much, like you said, of how many more people we can help. Solutions to Change has served over 10,000 people through our community support services, over 5,000 people through therapy and family support. Those numbers to me, like, you know, we do them every month, by the month, and I looked at the total since 2020. I was like, oh my God. So what that money is going to go towards, we just had our Youth Wellness Summit in May. We had our 4th annual one. We will be doing that. We're also doing a separate Youth Wellness Summit specifically for juvenile justice youth, right? Because you want to, again, make sure it's...
I have no problem getting involved with you on that.
Thank you.
I would love that.
Thank you. So we got a grant with the county, but it doesn't cover everything we need. So it's going to help further our programming. In July, which is minority this month. So July 18th and 19th is minority mental health. I mean, the month is minority mental health wellness month, but we do healing to health.
Yes.
And it's bringing the dialogue of mental health to the faith-based community. Host a prayer and worship night. Use all your tools. We do psychoeducation.
Come on now. We're going to throw some Bible at you now.
Friday, but you don't have to come to Friday to join Saturday. And that's when we host a whole bunch of work. It's going to be a CSN, Charleston, breakout sessions, clinicians, CEUs. And it's really helping people reconcile. I could pray and get professional help and talking about it. And it's so beautiful. It's the 7th, 8th one.
Yeah.
And we have a youth track. It's free. Leads to intervention, art.
Beautiful.
And so it's fun. And it's, again, what can you do? A dance, all these different, and then real topics, right? Yeah. Managing anger. Going through divorce, different things every year. So if you go to solutionsofchange.org, you can register. It is free. The youth track is free. We have a Spanish speaking track.
Oh, man.
And we have an interpreter for the main sessions. Breakfast and lunch is included. It's all day. Well, 8 to 4, right? Well, 9 to 4 with registration and everything. It's powerful. It's one of the things it was my baby and it's grown. So you can, visit our website, solutionsofchange.org, to be a sponsor, a vendor, and or a participant. All are welcome. You don't have to be a person of faith. Come in the room. Yeah. And for clinicians, cultural competency.
Yes.
Right? For me, you can follow me on all social media. Follow me on all social media handles at Dinisha Mingo on Instagram, Dinisha Mingo on Facebook. Solutions of Change is at Solutions of Change on all handles, and MHS is at MHSBS on Instagram and social media. We have a mental health symposium coming up in October. I used to do a lot of suicide. Yes, that's when you volunteer. I want to bring that back soon.
Absolutely.
So now, thank God.
Yeah, Nevada Partners, man.
Yeah, Nevada Partners.
Yes, I'll never forget that.
Yep. It was.
Yeah.
And I want to do that again. Yep. A different way with the mental health symposium. So there's so much that we're doing. So just stay involved. If you go into our social media or to the website, you can call our office at 702-848-1696. And if you call MHS, we're going to connect you to SOS. Like, we work together and in tandem. And I think that, there's so much that be like this and this, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. So healing health is the big thing. We want y'all to come up and show out. Our keynote speaker is coming. She's a psychologist.
Yes.
Was my previous advisor coming out of town. So we are just trying to grow that. And I don't know, you think I'm missing anything?
Look, if you're missing anything, when this episode is released, and because I'm going to send you everything.
Yeah.
You can definitely mark it down then. Yeah, for sure. No question about it, man. No question about it. Look, man, CDL Cigar and Golf, man, Leaks and Legends podcast, man. I want to thank you, Miss Dinisha Mingo, for your time, your efforts.
Yeah.
And your presence, more importantly, right here in the Las Vegas community where you grew up in. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been a complete honor. Thanks for you for letting me just share and what my passion, my purpose is, and what I do, and for valuing it. And same to everybody else there who supported any kind of way. It's been a long time coming. Yeah. I thank God it happened today.
Absolutely. No question about it, man. Look, CDL Cigar and Golf, man, Leaks and Legends podcast, man. We appreciate your time. Peace.